colorism, one hug at a time. Ding. Hi guys, my name is Tiffany Chayla. Welcome back to my channel. This is going to be a video on colorism, and with me I have my two friends,
Sydney,
Ayana,
and I will leave their information in the description box below, so check that out.
Please calm down.
Almost done. Is it laughing?
Let me just drink it down a little more.
Okay, so today we're going to be, it's not even full yet, I feel like it's full.
how she almost spilled it with the doctors.
So we are going to be addressing colorism and what we think about it. So, the first question I have on here is, what is the joke?
I'm trying to get into my
Okay.
Stop wasting my film.
So, guys, the first question is, when was your first experience with colorism?
You want to go first, or you want me to go first? Or you want to go
/
first?
share your experience with colorism.
Blur that out.
Somebody go.
Oh my gosh. Okay. My first experience, I don't know, but the one that like really always sticks with me is I was in middle school, I think it was, and I've always gone to schools. I'm 3 years younger than my sister, so I've always gone to schools with my sister for like a year or so with that, you know, like whatever. Not middle school though, but at middle school they were like, oh, your sister's Rhea, oh, da da da, and kids knew her and stuff like that. And people would always tell me, you know, like, Rhea, if you, maybe I shouldn't put her name on.
Well,
But they would always be like, it was so mean too. They would always be like, if you were light skinned like her, you'd be so pretty. Or if you were as light skinned as her. But one time somebody said that to me, and then they proceeded to ask me, mind you, me and my sister look exactly alike.
That's true.
They proceeded to ask me, they were like, so, which one's your dad and which one's her mom? I was like, what? They're like, you know, like y'all have different parents. I was like, no, we don't. They're like, one of y'all is really light, the other is really dark. I was like, we have the same parents. Unless you know something I don't, but yeah. It's my first little
Wow, that's crazy.
dip into it.
Because y'all really do look exactly alike.
Yeah.
Like, there's no mistaking that you guys are sisters. The first experience that I've had with colorism was like, I didn't really experience it more so in like elementary or middle school. It wasn't until I got to high school. And one day, me and my friends had met like these group of guys. And it was during the summertime. It was like July. And we were supposed to meet up with them the next day. And one of them like had interest in me. So then the next day I had to walk from my house to the other side of town, and it was a blistering hot day. It was like 3 p.m. so you know you're bound to get a tan. So when I got there, he had said like, oh wow, I thought you were light skinned, and I was just like, I don't know how to answer this. I was like, yeah bro, well I was, you know, just walking outside. I don't know what to tell you.
Blistering.
Yes, it was such a hot day. I just remember there was like no clouds in the sky. So yeah, that was like the first time I had noticed that someone had like, I guess only seemed interested in me because they thought I was lighter skinned. And then he proceeded to try to talk to my friend who was lighter skinned. So I was like, dang, so that's what it is. Okay.
It's crazy.
Yeah, that was like 16 when that happened.
Wow. Okay, I guess my first experience, I'm gonna share an experience, but my actual first experience was when I was in elementary school. As a matter of fact, it was these two Jamaican boys. One of them was darker than me, and the other one was kind of like, he was kind of light skinned. They were both making fun of me and doing those dark skin jokes in elementary school, and we had to be in like third, fourth grade, so that young. But one experience for me that really like kind of stuck to me, and this is, I guess it's because like this is when like social media was more becoming more of a thing. This one boy, and I showed Sydney the other day, I think, on Twitter, I was looking at my old tweets, and this one boy, I was in high school, and I posted this picture. I might even put the picture in the video, but I posted this picture in this dress that I was debating on buying or not, debating whether or not to buy, and I ended up buying it actually. But for the record, the boy who said light skin, I ended up meeting him years later, and he was choosing me in the dressing room, and I put it on Twitter. And so this other girl put the same dress on in a totally different dressing room, and she posted the picture on Twitter. So this random boy that neither one of us knew pulls up the pictures, goes out of his way to make a collage and put our pictures next to each other, and he was like, who you think did it better, light skin or dark skin?
Doing the most.
Doing the most. And the thing about it is nobody knew who this boy was. Like, I didn't know him. He was from the area that I lived around, but I didn't know him, didn't follow him. The other girl didn't know him, didn't follow him. So it was like, why did you do this? So very confusing moment, but it was one of those like blast you on Twitter type moments for me, like my first experience. Well, one of my experiences.
Y'all remember when they used to always put like Born London or Megan Good or just like any brown
skin on Facebook?
Yes, or light skin person against each other. It's like,
like, who do y'all like better?
Yeah, I remember that. That was crazy. So the next question is, I guess basing off of that, do you think people can change from their old mindset, like their old colorist mindset?
You want to know what's crazy? So this guy I used to talk to when I was younger. We were in high school, and it's so crazy. So in high school, he low-key just had a thing where he liked all types of females, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it was just like he told me straight up one time that he wants to have a lighter baby with curly hair. I was like, okay, have fun with that because you're really brown. But what was crazy about it is, like, you know, he comes from a family, like, all of them are brown skin. His dad is a lot, like, is very fair skin. But it was just crazy to me because it was like, that's what he would try to, like, go after, like, seriously pursue.
Mm-hmm.
And then so now, you know, like, we're still cool or whatever, but it was just like the way he would pursue light-skinned females. Mm-hmm. It was just like that was his goal in life. Mm-hmm. Like, that's how he made it out. But now you'll see him, and we've talked about it before, like recently and stuff. But he always posts stuff like, we got to do better about how we treat our women. We got to do better with not making them feel a certain type of way and belittling them because of what they look like and all that. And I'm just like, you said we got to do what?
Searches through old tweets.
Right. But you know, I do feel like people can change because I had a conversation with him and I'm just like, you know, the stuff you used to, because we were really cool, so he would like be very open about that kind of stuff, and it was so disgusting to me because like I don't understand that when a guy's like that. Like, my dad's the type of like, wear afro, don't put no makeup on.
Yeah.
Go get a tan. You know, like, go sit in the sun. You look beautiful. All that, right? He embraces it, right? So to hear so many guys be like that, and then later on you'll always, oh, I love beautiful brown women, da-da-da. Some guys, I do feel like they grow up and they see where the flaws is.
Yeah.
Others, it's like, ain't no hope.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Yeah, I feel the same way. I feel like depending on the person, you can definitely outgrow your old mindsets. But I feel like that takes a lot of self-reflection and awareness, because I feel like that's something that's extremely deep-rooted from when you grew up. Like, you either see it in your household, or like that's what society and social media had constantly been drilling in your head. Like, this is what you need to go after. Like, this is the American dream for black men. And I don't know if you guys remember that clip of, well, this is sort of like a tangent, but that girl, she was one of the ladies from Mary Mary, and her daughter was dark skinned, and she was saying, like, you know, you and daddy, like, you're light skinned and he's dark skinned, and that's how I see it with auntie too, and stuff like that. So I feel like when you're a kid growing up seeing that for boys, like, let's say your dad is brown skin / dark skin and your mom is light skin, and everyone in your family. Yeah, so it depends on, like, you know, what you grew up around, and if, you know, you feel it necessary to change.
I don't know.
What do you think?
I just think it's so weird that guys are like so like it's rooted within them, like it's so deeply embedded. Because I'm the most brown, most melanated one in my family, and I always have. And I used to get very, very dark when I would be in the sun. Like, I tan so differently now than when I was younger. Like, I glow now. When I was younger, I used to look like, honestly, I would tan and I would look ashy. Like, that was just, it was like my undertones and stuff just didn't pop like it does now. So, like, I just don't understand why people are like, I see it in my family, like, to have this complexion and that complexion. For me, I'm still attracted to a dark skinned man the way I am a light skinned or a brown skinned man. Yeah. So I don't understand, like, I personally do not understand how people get so like, I need this and that. Like, that's my balance. Because I have a very, like, they're all orange, like all of them. So I just don't understand why. Because I feel like guys are, it's so much, it's like with guys, it's just like, what?
Yeah.
Some girls do though.
Okay. Yeah, I do feel like, I don't know, I feel like people can change, but do I necessarily think that, not even that, but like, do I forgive people for doing that? No, not really. Yeah, I really don't. I'm sorry, but it's just like, if you would see the thing, like, thankfully, I'm not gonna say I was like the strongest person in the world, because I wasn't. Like, there would be some moments where I would go home and cry and stuff like that, but I got over it fast when I realized that a lot of like the dark skin jokes were all the same.
Yeah.
So, but hearing that all the time, it's just like, y'all were really doing that for like giggles for your friends and stuff like that. But now, like you said, there's like those people like your friend that's like, now they're like on the chocolate train or dark skin, brown skin train, whatever the case may be. But it's just like, I don't necessarily have to forgive you for that, for tearing another black woman down just because of the color of her skin, something that she is born with, like something she cannot change. Like, I feel like I don't necessarily fully forgive people for that, but I feel like they can change their mindset, and I mean, with time you do change. Like, time is for change, you know what I'm saying? So I do get that you can change your mindset. It's just, it makes me wonder, are you changing your mindset for the trend that's going on right now, or do you really mean what you're saying? So that's what goes on in my head for that. But I do think that people can definitely change their mindsets. So with that question, how do you guys feel about like influencers and celebrities coming out like with their, getting exposed for their colorist tweets and whatever colorist posts from way back then? Like, I know you guys said that you think that people can change, so how do you feel about that?
Okay, there's a difference between people changing. I say a lot of reckless things. I say, you know, like I rarely have a filter, right? But I have always been very conscious on the things I put out for people to see. Not because it's a reflection of me, but because you don't know what other people are going through. And regardless of how you say something, you don't know how it's taken.
Yeah.
So like for somebody to have a platform and they use it, or not even to have a platform yet, but I just feel like it blows my mind that people, they just go out their way to say this wild stuff. Like, who are you trying to impress? Because to me, that just shows an insecurity. It doesn't show you trying to be funny. It shows me that you're insecure and that you can't handle whatever that person's doing. Like, if it's a dark skinned person, if it's a light skinned person, if it's a skinny person, if it's a fat person, you just can't handle them. So you're gonna put something negative out there so everybody will laugh and be on your side. Like, that's all I see it as.
Yeah.
And I don't feel like, I'm just not gonna acknowledge that influencer, that whatever, because it's not like me forgiving and forgetting. I don't even know if I'm a very forgiving person, but I don't even know them. What do I need to forgive them for? I'm not going to support them.
Yeah.
Because the kind of stuff they're putting, like, stuff with, they malintent out into the world, like, no.
And a lot of them are saying, that's funny that you said that, because in their apology videos, a lot of them are saying stuff I was insecure when I was young.
Insecure.
So that's really funny that you say that, because it's just like, I guess I don't get like the insecurity reflecting off. I understand that does happen, but I just don't get how like you can literally want to tear a whole person down because you are insecure. I just don't get what people.
I always think about that. I know it doesn't like necessarily equate, but that ASAP Rocky interview. When he was explaining about why women bash, or why men and women bash hoes. And he was like, it's not necessarily because they're like, they don't like them or they don't want to be like them. It's because they want to be like them. It's because they want to embrace who they really are. But they're too insecure to do so. So instead, they're going to go on tangents and, like, rip them apart and be like, oh, she's a hoe, you shouldn't mess with her, stuff like that. Versus being like, she's a human being. Like, I like that she's free-spirited, stuff like that. So that's how I see it.
That interview.
Oh, it's good. Because it changes your it makes you, not necessarily changes your perspective, but it just makes you realize that a lot of the times when they're tearing somebody else down, they're really just tearing themselves down.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah. Me, on the other hand, I feel like I am willing to forgive anyone as long as I feel like it's genuine. I don't want it to feel like it was a very scripted apology for an influencer. If I feel like I can see by their actions before they got quote-unquote exposed for their old tweets, if I could be like, I see them doing the opposite of what their tweets were saying and like embracing people who they were roasting. Yeah. Then I'm like, okay, well, obviously their actions have changed, but it's different if it's like they got exposed and then they feel like they're changing after the fact. I feel like you're doing it for the wrong intentions. You're doing it because people are hating you now versus you realizing like, dang, what I used to do was bad. Let me change myself. So I'm willing to forgive and accept you again. Like, I'm not going to completely cancel you. I'm not even for cancel culture personally, because I feel like every person at one point in their life, I feel like every person in their life has done something foul to offend somebody. So if you cannot forgive someone, and then you yourself are a human being, like, I don't think it's fair. But it has to be like genuine from the heart, because then you're just doing it for the wrong reasons.
So do you think that because a lot of these people, and you don't know because of this is social media, you can create whatever character you want to on social media.
Right.
What if it seems genuine to you, but it is a facade? Like, people can put out these apologies online and stuff like that, but it could be a facade.
Then it's like, dang, well, you're only fooling yourself. I'm not the one that has to judge you at the end of the day. We're not going to go into that. But yeah.
I'm not judging you at the end of the day.
But yeah, so it's like, if you want to be out here fooling people, be my guest. Like, the only person you end up screwing over is you in the end.
Okay. So I feel like with the whole influencers coming out and celebs coming out, well, getting exposed for their old colorist tweets, like I said, about forgiving, it's like after you've gone through that experience so many times, it's like I get tired of hearing the same apologies. Like, trust me, and it's crazy because I have literally been hearing these same apologies since I was in elementary school. Like, is this on a script at this point? That's how I feel. That's why I'm kind of over the apologies with the colorist tweets and colorist statements, because it's just like, why did you guys have some, and I'm trying to, trust me, I'm an open-minded person, I'm trying to understand, like, why did you guys have all of this hatred in your heart, like, whether that be in your personal life or towards somebody else, that you were willing to take it out on random people for their skin tone? Like, I just don't understand. I've heard apologies after apologies, and I just don't understand. So how I feel with like seeing certain influencers and celebrities come out with their old colorist tweets, is just like, they were so aggressive and so mean. Like, it was just like so mean, like, kill them because they're dark skinned and stuff like that. It's just so far.
It's just always very like heavy.
Extra, yes. Yeah. It was just like extreme tweets, and I'm just like, I really like this person. This was a really positive person that I used to follow on social media platforms, and now I can't even follow the person, look at their content, look at them the same. And even though I know that this person has changed, like, I know that this person has changed, it's like, dang, your mindset used to really be like that. And that's very scary, to think that somebody would be willing to kill somebody off because they're dark skinned. And mind you, these people are black. Why would I want to be killed by one of my brothers or sisters because of my skin tone? Like, that makes no sense to me. And that's so extreme. So these celebs getting exposed, these influencers getting exposed, is very eye-opening to me, and it just makes me wonder about the genuine side of what they talk about now. That's all. So yeah.
I think that's what makes me so like picky with who I like idolize and stuff.
True.
Because I don't idolize a lot of people. I don't like care for a lot of people. It's like they're just entertainment. Like, I just leave them in that bubble of being entertainment, because I don't feel like, I can't even take what they say with a grain of salt. Like, I'm just like, I'm not interested for real.
That's true. Does colorism apply to everybody?
Yes. Yes, 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 yes. Yes, 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 yes. I feel like with every ethnicity, there's some sense of colorism, and even it like dates all the way back when, because in a lot of like ancient like Egypt, stuff like that, or Indian cultures, like all over, Jamaican cultures, like, it's crazy, because, and then what's even crazier is like when people find out there are Chinese Jamaicans, there's, you know, like, there's like Indian Jamaicans, like things like that, because it's just like, yeah, there's like lighter people that are Jamaican. You all think they're like dark skinned and just bake in the sun and things like that. No, there's like a lot of like fair skinned people, mixed ethnicities, all of that. But what's crazy is that other ethnicities, they do take it deeper, as to like you're put on a pedestal for having this fair skin, or you're looked down upon for having this darker skin. In some cultures, you're praised for having darker skin. Some cultures, yeah, that's the case. So I think, yeah, definitely. It's definitely, yeah.
Alright. That was good. That was most of what I was going to say. Like, yeah, if you're looking on, like, from an international perspective, like, yeah, I feel like all people of color, Asian, Black, Hispanic, especially Hispanics, I feel like it's surfacing more, like that whole controversy with Afro-Latinas, and like who is trying to like say that. I feel like, though, where I'm coming from and seeing it from my side with this question is like, I feel like girls like Bernice Burgos, for example, they not overlook, but they're saying like, because her featureism, like she has silky hair and like her features, that they don't like you know, if they don't like dark skinned girls, then they'll be like, but no, she's an exception because she's pretty, like she looks like this, so nah, she's different. I feel like especially in New York, where I'm from, that is a huge thing. Like if you're considered coolie, or like which is like Indian people, but they still have very dark skin, then they'll accept you if you have darker skin. That's what I've seen from experience. So I don't think it applies to everybody, you know. And if you're like really light skinned or like albino, then like some people will still be like, nah, you know. Yeah. So it depends, in my experience at least.
That's true. I feel like a mixture of both. I think that a lot of people do experience colorism that like you don't expect. Like you don't expect somebody who's Dominican, somebody to go through that, but then you have dark-skinned Dominicans and you have light-skinned Dominicans, and for some reason people seem to think that colorism only sits in the black community, which is not the case. Like there are so many people who are shamed in their home countries who live in those Latino areas, and it's just like we're not the only ones who go through it, but for some reason, because it's such a big thing in the black community, that we think that, well, not me, but a lot of people think that black people are the only ones who go through it, and it's not true. And like Sydney said, I do see those cases where like you have that one person who is like extremely colorist, but there could be one person who fits the opposite of what they prefer, and they're like, yeah, I'll make an exception because she bad. Like that is kind of crazy. So I do think that it can be a mix of both of them, but that is a good point to bring up, that people do make exceptions for certain people because of whatever look that they think sets them apart from the rest of the ones that they don't like. So how do you guys think that location affects colorism?
So I never realized, I didn't know until like maybe a year ago or so, that Haiti and the Dominican Republic were connected. Yeah, I'm dumb. Whatever. I did not know that. And so somebody, it was on Instagram, I think. I didn't know that they were connected, like attached. I didn't know that. And so it just like, I was like, wow, that's kind of crazy. But then when we were in Miami and we met these guys, they were real cool or whatever, but they were...
I said that real weird.
Yeah. Girl, they better be your best friend.
No, they were real cool. But we met them, and mind you, they're older. They're like in their 30s or so. And so we, like hanging out with them and stuff like that. But what was crazy to me is they're like, we were, like asking their background and stuff, and they're like, oh, we're Haitian. And we're like, oh, really? And we were very surprised, not gonna lie, we're very surprised, because they had lighter skin.
And their hair.
And their outfits, I'm not gonna lie, like, their outfits, we're all Caribbean, so their outfits screamed another island. So we were like, oh, okay, cool. But what was crazy is they were sitting there saying, like, yeah, but we're really close to the Dominican. So, I mean, I guess, that's where people kind of always think we're Dominican or something. And then I asked how far away they were from the line, so I was like, oh, wow, that's cool. Da, da, da. They said 2 hours. Bro, you're Haitian. You're Haitian. You are Haitian. You're Haitian. But yeah, I do think location and colorism is a big thing. Because even on another scale, like how people identify themselves, but also how you're identified by your surroundings, like people of different races or in different job cultures and stuff like that, how they identify you is completely different in every area. Because you might be upper middle class black in one area, and they, like they're kind of like, pretty dark. What do you do? Are you African? Like stuff like that. Versus like, oh, you're fair skinned. Okay, you might have a white dad, things like that. So I feel like it does change with location and what people kind of not accept, but what they're like more comfortable with saying around you and doing around you, and just I guess, their energy towards you.
That's good. Location. Yeah, I feel like it really just like depends. I feel like if your area is like predominantly white, then yeah. Sorry, what was the question again?
How do you think a location affects, or do you think a location affects colorism?
Okay, yeah. I think location does affect colorism. From like a geographical standpoint, I feel like, at least from my experience, I feel like in the South, compared to up north, surprisingly, I feel like it's less. And I feel like, I don't know if it's because there's more from my
less in the South?
Yes, from what I've seen, like I feel like in New York, maybe it was a different time period back then, and that's when I feel like within our culture, things were very much so divided, and now people are more accepting. So it could be that.
Well, I learned in school when we used to go. I was like probably in elementary, middle school, and you know how they teach you like New York's melting pot.
Yeah.
My teacher, she was from New York. I remember that accent, oh God. But she was from New York, and she was like, I'm gonna be real with y'all. New York is like a salad bowl. Because while melting pots, all the ethnicities, everybody becomes one. It's more so like you're all jumbled up because you have Chinatown, you have like Little Italy, but it is divided in a sense.
Yeah.
And so like if you go over here, you'll get all the best Chinese food. You go over here, you get all the Italian, all the Thai food, like stuff like that. So I do get, yeah.
But that's as far as race. As far as like the colorism portion, you think that like people divide like people of color more up north than in the South?
I feel like especially my school where there was a lot of Hispanics, and Hispanics were definitely the preference amongst black men. So like the closer that you were to an Hispanic looking woman, the better. But down here I feel like it's not as many quote unquote exotic looking females. So then like they still gravitate towards brown skin and dark skin females versus New York, you had to be fair skin, have very loose curly hair, etc. But that was my experience. That's where I'm coming from. I feel like down here they didn't see that, or like they probably see it but weren't exposed to it in their actual surroundings. If that makes sense. But yeah.
Okay. In my experience, I feel the complete opposite because I am from New York as well. But when I was in New York, and in New York where I'm from Brooklyn, there are a lot of different cultures, especially West Indian cultures. People, it is like a salad bowl when it comes to stuff like that. Like there's so many different cultures like that I do not see in the South at all. But people don't focus so much on color, like what color you look like. Yes, of course, there are people who would try to shame you because you are darker or lighter, whatever the case may be, however you got, seen as. But as far as colorism, I didn't hear about the light skin versus dark skin thing till I came here. I didn't experience light skin versus dark skin like that until I came here, like to the South. It was very, very, very strong, like super hard to ignore. Yes, people, and I think it comes from a place of like that miseducation, which is why they were coming for me because I was dark skinned. But also it's like I didn't experience it as much when I was in New York as much as I do experience it down here. And I think it's because a lot of people are a little bit more accepting because everybody comes from totally different backgrounds. Like New York is the place for immigrants. So you're going to see people of totally different cultures there. So it's more, I guess, likely that people will be accepting for you for who you are. So this how
I think it's more, I'm thinking from this perspective, like when you do North versus South, industry-wise, because like, say you were to go to a model casting in New York versus in Atlanta, right? Atlanta, you probably going to find like 20 brown skin females. 20, like brown, like chocolate females, right? New York, you're probably going to find one or two. Most of them are going to be real fair skinned or white. That's the way I think of it versus when Sydney's saying it. That's how I kind of took it. But I get what you're saying completely. But that's how I was thinking of it when Sydney says that. I think of it like industry wise, and then also the fact that y'all were probably a lot younger
That's
to not experience, you know, like somebody, a grown adult saying something to you like that. Versus like now when you're, you know, we're old enough to be socializing with those older people and to hear something wild like that.
I get it. I don't necessarily agree with the whole industry thing though, but I understand where you may be coming from. I do find that because people look for different looks. Like I feel like in the industry, a lot of people are going for different looking people. And like I said, like up north, you tend to find more different looking people because people are coming from totally different cultures. So I know that like people are shocked to find out that I'm not just like, my family lineage is not just from like the African American, that they are from like the West Indies. It's different cultures and people look for different looks. People always say like you have a different look. So I think that a lot of people when they're in the industry, they do go for that different look. Down here, down in the South, you have a lot of people who are just Black Americans. And so of course, well not of course, but I do feel like they wouldn't gravitate to people who they just feel like are Black Americans, because down South they're so divided that they think that that's not a different look. Like they do, a lot of people's mindsets, they think that Black Americans are not different. Like the darker Black Americans don't have that different look. I don't know why. I don't think the same. I've had arguments with people because I think that they do look different. But a lot of people think that they don't look different. And actually I had an experience in Grenada because they thought that well, they could tell off rip that I was American, and I'm like, how can they tell that I'm American? And I was asking my friend who visits Grenada a lot, and he also lives in New York at the same time. So I was like, how can they tell that I'm American, and why do they keep saying that like they're attracted to me more because I'm American? There are so many beautiful girls out here that look just like me. He's like, I don't know how to explain to you, but the best way I can explain to you is it's the same thing like light skin versus dark skin when you're in America. And I just thought that was so wild because like I said, when I come down south, I think that there are a lot of beautiful Black Americans, but a lot of people don't see them as looking different. And I'm like, so they see that light skin type, that mixed type is like different to them, but I'm just like, I don't get it. But I guess that's something I would never understand either. So the next question says, who do you think are worse, boys or girls, when it comes to colorism?
Guys.
And why do you feel that way?
Because for the longest, y'all was screaming, y'all wanted a red bone, this bone, that bone. Y'all don't even know what that is. So, yeah, I think it's guys. Okay, so like, when I got to college, guys used to tell me, and it hit, like, when it started, like, it was repetitive. Like, it was just so disgusting to me. I started to get like, oh, you're so pretty for a brown skin girl, or I've never dated a brown skin girl. You're the first one, you're just so pretty. Like, and it was just weird to me because it's like, oh, I made the cut. I don't want to be on your team. I don't want to be on your roster. I'm good. But like that is a huge turn off to me because I never noticed that, and I never like knew I needed to even ask like, are you attracted? So like I will ask off rip because I feel like I don't want to be just making the cut for somebody.
Like the token.
Yeah, like the token Black girl. Because like being the token, that's not a good feeling. Like working somewhere, being the token Black girl, it is the most uncomfortable feeling. Like I don't like that. And so like I started to ask, and like one guy I had to ask him like, because I didn't know that, and then we knee deep in, and I'm like, so have you never dated a brown skin girl before? Like, you like look at like skin complexions? He was like, I mean, normally I go for like light skin, you know, like, you know. I was like, okay, so what's light skin to you? And he was like my complexion or like my mom's. I was like, oh, okay. I was like, so I just kind of, you know, like made it to on your team. And he was like, I mean, like, you real cool, you pretty, you just, I've never dated somebody you're as dark as you. And that's what got me, because I'm like, as dark as me. Okay. I was like,
okay.
I was like, all right, okay. And so even the guy I'm dating now, I had to ask him, I was like, do you like have a preference when it comes to skin tone? And he was like, nah, I mean, like, y'all like black women. I was like, but do you like to have a skin tone preference? He was like, nah. I was like, okay, all right. But like, I never knew I needed to ask that, and that's disgusting to me. Because but guys, I don't know what's wrong with y'all.
Yeah, I think it's definitely worse with guys. I feel like girls are just way more. There's obviously that random person that just thinks they're better for someone based on how they look. I feel like it's way more rare though. I feel like I haven't really come across that often. But yeah, I think it's guys, hands down, when it comes to their preferences. Like I said before, I've experienced it firsthand. Like, they will solely want to talk to you because of the shade of your skin. Not solely, like obviously something physically attractive about you besides that, but that could be a deal breaker for them. And yeah, and they're not shameful of it too though. They're not shameful. They think it's perfectly fine.
Sweet.
Yeah, they think having a skin color preference is perfectly normal, and they don't feel like they're being rude by saying that to other people.
So if I talk about your mom, I'm rude.
Let's not go there.
But yeah, no, it's guys, hands down.
Yeah, I also feel like it is guys. And I mean, I feel like more of the reason, I feel like, okay, so when you see that girls are worse, quote unquote, it's because one is bringing another down. But when you see that, it's because they're trying to impress a man.
Right.
So obviously the man is the root of the color, like the aggression towards the next. So I do feel like guys are worse because it's like, why are y'all so stuck on somebody's skin tone? And even like when people come to me saying that they only like those chocolate girls, because now it's a trend, like I said. When they say that they only like those real chocolate girls or they only like those dark, it's just like there are many, many females that are super beautiful and of lighter skin tones. So I just think that it's so weird that people make that the fixation on skin tones. Like, it's just like there is so much more to a person that you can get to know once you look past that. I feel like girls, when they make their preferences, it's more on like height or something. I get that,
Guys
they love that dark
hate it
skin
too.
or whatever. They love saying that they love a tall, dark man, but it's also like they make it more on height or different personality traits than a man would do so with that stuff. Like, you rarely hear a guy say, "Ooh, I love my woman 5 feet tall." That's what I gotta have. I gotta have it. If I don't have that, it's nothing. Like, no, they'll most likely say something about skin tone over something like height. And I just think that it's kind of stupid. Not kind of, but it is stupid. So if you're one of them, you're stupid. So the next question says, have you ever been the one who has been the colorist?
Yeah.
Okay, and how do you feel so? Like, explain.
I just feel like I probably said some off the wall stuff. Like, it might have been like, I don't know, like, I can't give, this sounds like crazy, but it's hard for me to give somebody with fair skin their accolades than it is for me to give somebody with dark skin, because how society, like, I feel like they're automatically gonna be like, I have to actually be like, okay, yes, you did a great job, like, yes, you're doing the thing. I have to genuinely feel that versus going out my way to just like boost you and do all that other stuff, because I feel like that's what's expected in a sense. Like it sounds so messed up, but it's just, for me, I've always grown up around a lot of mixed people, and so like it was, I've never been insecure. I'm very confident. I mean, probably have, but I'm always been a very confident person, right? Didn't ever care about what people said about my skin tone and stuff like that, but I just feel like when you sit there and boost somebody who's fair skinned or whatever like that, I'm like, okay, good job. She's probably getting this because she's light skinned. And that's just me being honest, because I feel like 10 times out of 10 when it's coming from a guy, that is his gist. Versus like when they're like, oh, good job, or like when you actually put in the work and do something, I can easily give that to you, but I'm not just gonna be like, oh, good job, you're light skinned. I've probably said that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh shit, Sydney. You dropped it?
I was gonna say it was you.
No.
I'm gonna say yes, but in an aspect more directed towards myself and other people. I feel like when I was younger, I used to go to Florida a lot to, visit family and such. And, I tanned. So, and then when I noticed, like, not that people would treat me differently in a sense, but, like, I don't know. I remember, like, once when I was younger, and this is so embarrassing to even say this, but, like, I remember my dad was like, how come you don't like going to the beach with us anymore? Like, you used to spend hours out there with us. You love the water. And I was like, Dad, I don't want to get a tan, like, I really don't. I used to be so sad and, like, distraught about getting a tan. And it took me really till recently to actually, like, be out of the shade. Like, I used to be with, like, friends, and, like, they were also of lighter complexion, too, and they'd be like, no, we just need to sit back here in the shade. We're not about to go out there, like. And it's really just because, you feel like once that happens and you feel like something switches, and that's so bad because you feel like, I don't want to lose this quote-unquote privilege that I have. And it sounds so bad to, like, even say this out loud, but I feel like people know that, like, yeah, it's like you don't, and it's so, like, it's terrible. It's like, I feel like it's a similar thing as, like, white privilege or pretty privilege. I feel like it's the same thing. So I was colorist towards myself, thinking, like, assuming, like, if I get a tan, then, like, dang, people ain't gonna mess with me the same way, like, type of thing. So
interesting.
yeah, that was mine.
I know. I'm a bad person.
Shame on you. Just kidding. I feel like, in a sense, not that I've actually had that action of being colorist, but the thoughts, like my thought process. But it's like I told you guys before in my last answer, how like guys kind of promote that mindset for women. I feel like I've been that type of person in the sense of social media. Like, if this guy that I'm interested in and he just keeps pursuing me and acting like he's interested in me, if I go on his page and all I see is him liking stuff, like liking pictures of people who look completely different, and I'm the only exception. This is what I was saying earlier in the video. Like, it's so strange to me if somebody is trying to pursue me as their love interest, and all they seem to be attracted to the public and on social media is somebody who looks the total opposite of me. All they're retweeting, all they're liking is pictures of people who look super different from me. And I think that is very strange, and it's off-putting to me, because it's like, and this has always been the case, because, and I'm not saying this to be any type of cocky way, but I've always been a fairly pretty girl. So like, if somebody is coming to me because they think that I look pretty, and they think that I look pretty for a dark-skinned person, but all they're saying on social media is, I love me a red bone, or I love me a yellow bone, like, that is so strange to me, and that turns me completely off. So, not that I get mad at the woman who is of a lighter complexion, because I think a lot of women are beautiful, and I am quick to give somebody their praise when they're beautiful. I don't see that skin tone thing. Like that won't stop me from giving you your props at all. But I just thought that it was super strange on the men's end to like me because you think I'm pretty, but also only retweet and like and boost the light-skinned person because that's what your peers want to see. That's what the public wants to see. So that's very strange. That's how I feel like I've been a colorist in a sense, not by like doing something to hurt or bring down somebody else. So
Yeah.
yeah. Okay.
So I don't feel like the intent is ever to bring down somebody else.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just, well, for us at least.
Yeah.
Other people, I don't understand. Okay.
How has colorism benefited you? Is the next question.
I be getting jobs.
Oh wait. Oh yeah, that was the question. Okay.
I be getting jobs. I be a token black girl. I'll put in some nice straight hair. I'm not gonna fry my hair for y'all, first of all. But I'll put in some nice straight weave and I'll go to that interview. They'll be like, oh my gosh, ha ha ha, giggles, all that other stuff. But I have, I be getting jobs. I worked at this one, I love that job too. I was a hostess at this Italian spot and went in there, literally just went, sat at the bar, talked to the guy, gave me a job. She said, you're a very pretty girl. And I was like, a pretty what kind of girl? Just, you're a very pretty girl. Only black girl, only hostess, yeah. We're getting jobs, all types of jobs. So, yeah. It's kind of sickening, but thanks for coins.
I cannot with you, bro. I mean, I can't really think of a specific example, like besides outside of jobs, and I don't even think like I would ever be the token black person. I feel like I've always been working with someone else that was black.
You've never sat down and they've been like, I work with the diversity, da 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 da, bullshit, DS, da 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 da. Really?
That's never happened to me.
I be getting that.
Or you don't feel like
Diversity and inclusion, that's what they call it.
you don't feel like you've had any experiences even outside of work where like colorism has benefited you. Well, you did list a time earlier in the video. You said that your lighter skin. Well, that didn't benefit you.
Yeah, like that.
My bad, girl. But like something of like that sort, like on a social aspect, not business wise. That hasn't.
I mean.
Oh yeah, true. That could be something too.
I mean, if you have a preference for light-skinned females, then yeah, that would be it. But like, I don't directly see like, yep, that's because I was light-skinned. They wanted me because of that.
Yeah.
Like it never clicks in my head for it
Okay.
to be like, oh, yeah, I got this because I was light-skinned.
Yeah.
I don't know. I never think of it like that. So.
Okay.
That's good though.
Yeah, that is good. Colorism has not benefited me at all. When people think of black people, they think of black people. Like, they think that, like, well, if in the workspace, they think that when they're going for the black person or they're trying to avoid going for the black person, it's the dark-skinned person. So, I mean, in that sense, business-wise, I don't think like colorism has benefited me. Like I said, up until recently, dark-skinned people weren't like a thing. Like liking dark-skinned people or glorifying dark-skinned people wasn't a thing. So I don't think that colorism has benefited me. I've never had somebody tell me like, oh, you've gotten this because you're dark-skinned. Like, it's never happened to me, so I honestly don't think that colorism has benefited me. So the last question we have is, do you guys think that colorism will ever die?
Oh, me first?
Ladies?
I don't know. I don't know. I think it's died down a lot compared to like when I was in middle school or high school. Yeah, I do think it's died down a lot. I don't see a lot of like people. I don't feel like people have used their skin tone as a privilege as much, besides me and getting my jobs. But I don't think so, because everybody, if they say diversity inclusion is what they're trying to implement, get the job. But yeah, I don't.
It should be amazing now, considering the movement.
Considering the conditions right now, but still.
But I don't know if it'll die out, but I do think it has died down in a sense, a lot. Not a lot, it's died down in a sense.
Yeah, I feel like it's died down. I don't know if it'll ever completely go away.
Yeah.
I feel like that stuff is just like generational, depending on like if your parents think this way, then it's taught, it's a learned belief. Like, I don't know. I feel like until like media and society really changes the standard of beauty amongst like everything, little kids will grow up thinking that way, and then that'll be engraved in their head. I don't know if you guys saw that video of that little girl, and the psychologist had the picture of like all this, the dolls like all had the same like face, clothes, and everything, and she was like, which one do you think is the smartest, which one do you think is the prettiest? Like, kids are learning that from their home, so, and I feel like that's when you're getting your traits built. So
I used to have black Barbie dolls.
yeah, I did too. I used to have Moesha's, but
I
they
had
were light
white
skinned.
ones.
So like,
Mine were kind of like light skinned, black
wow.
ones, but still like
Yeah.
black.
so I don't know if it'll ever die down completely. Like,
I feel like we have to wait till after this whole like dark skin fetish goes, because that's what you see if people have really decided to like everything's acceptable.
And I personally don't feel like it's good, like seeing colorism die down like all the way. It's not gonna happen in our lifetime. I really don't feel like it, because people are still like constantly the amount of times I see the light skin versus dark skin debate on Twitter alone just lets, girl, it's clear and it's there. Like, the amount of times I see it a week lets me know that it's not going to die down no time soon. Like, and it's really sad. I feel like we will have to get off the social media in order for that to happen, and that is not happening anytime soon, because it's just gotten started. Social media has just gotten started. But I don't know if it's going to die down in our, like, die all the way down in our lifetime at all. It's sad, but it definitely is something that is a learned belief, like you said, Sid. So, I don't know, because you're going to tell because, I mean, not saying that this happens all the time, but a lot of times you do have children who are your same complexion. When your children go through these things, because I'm sure that, like I told you guys earlier, that little boy in 3rd or 4th grade, those 2 little boys, they learned it somewhere. So I'm sure they learned it at home, and they brought it to the school. So when I was affected by it and I went back home to tell my mom about it, my mom is close to my skin color. She had to tell me about stuff like what she went through in her experience. So it's like, you have to tell your children your experiences, and you have to tell your children your experiences and how you handled it. And I mean, that's just gonna, further, that story is gonna keep going from your child to their child to that child. Like, these stories, you're gonna keep hearing about it each generation. So I don't really think that it will necessarily die, because you have to teach people, like, you have to teach your kids about the history, your history. So I don't know.
Be like my dad and tell your daughter that and your son that they little kinky curly hair is beautiful, and they tan skin is beautiful, because it is. Regardless if you're light skin, dark skin, brown skin, just embrace your skin and don't be listening to these little boys.
Ignore boys until you are 30 years old.
Girl,
No, I'm just kidding. No, I'm playing. But yes guys, that was the end of my video. I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. Please let me know your thoughts on what you think about colorism, what you think about our opinions with this. This is very off the dome, so don't be harsh in the comments or you get blocked and you get flamed. No, I'm just kidding. But let us know about ourselves, specifically Ayana. No, I'm just kidding.
Now y'all can tell me about myself. I don't care.
But
especially go to the little Lightskin comment I made. Let me know about myself. It's okay. I don't care.
Don't be too harsh in my comments because I will read you. But still, let us know what you guys think, if you agree or disagree with the certain things that we said in the video. Okay?
Or even your own experience.
Yeah, we want to hear your experiences too. So this is lovely.
Hug you guys, come on.
Huh?
Get in and hug each other. Come on, come on. Come on.
And in colorism, one hug at a time. But thank you guys for tuning in. Goodbye.